More than the events in recent weeks, and while many predicted that the economy would be the central focus of the 2012 election, it appears that national security concerns and social issues may also haunt Team Obama. Joining me now with his take on who is best, in other words, in terms of taking on defeating the Anointed One, the author of the New York Times now #1 bestseller, 4 categories, Ameritopia, The Making of America, the great one, Mark Levin. Are you in the bunker?
I'm in the bunker. How's my makeup look?
You look great.
It's self-applied.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. It's an inside story. Anyway, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Well, let me start with this. I read your book twice, cover to cover, because it's so chock full of information. One of the things you did is, this socialist utopianism, this idea is nothing new in terms of philosophical thought. You go through the history of this. You talk about Marx. You talk about Hobbes. You talk about these guys. And is it any different than what Obama's doing here?
No, not really. I mean, in certain respects, yes. But if you listen to Obama even today, he's telling people who are having a tough time with their mortgages, I'm going to take care of you. And no, he's not. He's telling kids with student loans, I'm going to take care of you. And no, he's not. He's telling people who can't read credit card information, I'm going to take care of you. Now, this is the guy that runs the IRS. You ever read the Internal Revenue Code? He's not going to take care of you. All these phony promises, so when he debates whoever the Republican nominee is, he can say, I've proposed this, the Republicans have blocked me. I'm trying to help people with... In other words, all of these schemes that are impracticable and impossible. Meanwhile, what has he done? He's killing the economy. The regulations are killing the economy. The taxes coming under Obamacare are killing the economy. Obamacare itself killing the economy. The best way to fix the housing market is to unleash our economic system so people can have jobs and pay their mortgages. So he's more about promises, more about these abstractions, these fantasies, these arguments about equality. He is your typical mastermind, which means he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Apply that to what's going on in this battle over religious freedom right now in the country. Because obviously he chose contraception, appeasing the left, over religious freedom and liberty. Explain that.
This is nothing more than brute force. I don't know of any woman or any man, depending on the contraceptive, who has a problem getting contraception. What he is saying is that hospitals affiliated with, say, the Catholic Church or Orthodox Jews or Muslims or whatever faith doesn't really believe in this stuff and doesn't want to dispense it and pay for it, you must. So this isn't about women. It's not about contraception. This is about a president of the United States who has no respect for the Constitution, no respect for the First Amendment, and also has no respect for people of faith. And I'm not trying to be controversial. There's no balancing involved here. I didn't know we were having a problem getting contraceptives in this country. I mean, they fund Planned Parenthood, who hands out this stuff like candy. So there's really no problem in this country with access. What he's trying to do is break down that line between church and state in reverse. And it is contemptible. And it's not the only thing he's doing. The appointments clause of the Constitution is being violated. He signs statutes in the law, and he says, I'm only going to follow part of the statute because I don't agree with it. This is not what a president's supposed to do. He has enumerated powers under the Constitution, and that's what he's supposed to do, what the Constitution says.
Now, while you talk about those that buy into utopianism, you also go into our founders, our framers, and more importantly, the philosophers that inspired them. Those that believed in limited government, separation of powers, all the things that you talk about as a constitutional attorney often. So it raises this question in my mind. What then, therefore, is the antidote to cradle to grave, Obamacare, $5 trillion in debt, redistribution, spreading the wealth around? What's the answer? What is the antidote?
I've got a plan. And that plan is called the Constitution of the United States. It is the only antidote, and that's why it's under attack from the left, it's under attack by the media, and it's under attack by these utopian statists. You cannot have big government utopianism and at the same time limited government constitutionalism. So they violate the Constitution while they're claiming to comply with it, and they trash the Constitution, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg did with her interview to the public in Egypt. And this is the problem. The Constitution constrains and contains Obama, Ginsburg, Pelosi, and Reed, and these people are not interested in being contained. And Charles de Montesquieu, who I write about in the book also, I know people know who Marx is. You really ought to know who Montesquieu is, since so much of the Constitution was affected by
also
him.
Locke and,
he said,
de Tocqueville, you write
and
about all
Locke
these.
and others.
Mm-hmm.
But he says when these people lose their virtue, then the republic is gone. In other words, it doesn't matter what kind of constitution you write. It doesn't matter what kind of obstacles we have in place. When our public officials have lost their virtue, and when they do things like this time and time and time again, he says the republic's gone. It's not a republic anymore. That's why I call it Ameritopia.
You know, you even quote in the book Ben Franklin and the admonition, the warning that he gave that, in fact, that would happen. All right, so apply everything that you've written about utopianism, constitutional government, the founders, framers, and those that inspired them, and apply it to the volatility of the race that's going on for the Republican nomination to take on Obama. What do you think about the race?
First of all, Obama must be defeated. That's the first step. He must be defeated, whoever the Republican nominee is, because our country cannot stand too much more of this, I don't believe. And it's not just financial instability, because that's what it is. These things are unsustainable, these entitlements, his massive deficit creation and so forth. But the fact is, the disrespect and disregard of American history, the American spirit, the Constitution itself, they are laughing at us. They have no intention of complying with the words in the Constitution. As for the Republicans, my attitude is, we picked the most conservative candidate that's standing, and in my humble opinion, that's Rick Santorum. I don't care how much the Romney campaign attempts to talk about earmarks. Earmarks? Earmarks? TARP, Romney supported. TARP, in my view, was absolutely unconstitutional. The money that was used to subsidize GM and Chrysler, cap and trade, which he's flirted with, which turns our entire private sector on its head, which allows the EPA to administer and like the old Soviet bureaus over our private sector, and he's complaining about some earmark. Earmarks are nothing compared to these massive spending crony capitalism bills that violate our Constitution.
All right, let me ask you one last question. First of all, congratulations. The book now 2 weeks in a row, every category, 4 categories in the New York Times, #1 bestseller. And here it is, this great intellectual book, and I listen to your radio show, and you tell people at times, get off my phone, you big dope.
Here we go, yes. Well, if they're a big dope, I don't want them on the phone. I mean, you know, here's the thing. As you well know, we only have so much time on the radio, right?
You can't waste it.
Now, some people find these, as Rush calls them, seminar callers, or as I call them, these dopes. They find them entertaining, and they play with them for 10 minutes. To me, they're a waste of time. I want to get some intelligent people on the phone to have an intelligent conversation.
Right. You could always invite Alec Baldwin on. Then hang up on him.
Actually, I tell them to call your show and leave me alone. That's what I tell them to do.
Great one. Congrats. #1 New York Times bestseller, bookstores everywhere, Ameritopia. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Great to get you out of the bunker for once.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks to you. Thanks to Fox. God bless you.
All right, my friend. And coming up, Media Mash is up next.